this message tonight is a little bit technical, but stay with me, and it's going to go to a place that I think you will find meaningful. You know, we're in the middle of the Festival of Sukkot. If you came in through the main doors, on the left we have this big, nice sukkah. I have the lulav and the etrog in the box. And so we're in the middle of the Festival of Sukkot. And it was exciting when a zillion years ago we planned Lucy's bat mitzvah to know that it was going to be in the Shabbat of Sukkot. It made me happy at the time. It still makes me happy. So we have this Festival of Sukkot, and the Torah says very explicitly what we're supposed to do on the Festival of Sukkot. And this is a real good test. What day in the Hebrew calendar does Rosh Hashanah come on? Yes. The first day of the month of Tishrei. That isn't complicated. It's called the New Year, the first. Okay. Now, I want to see how, who did you bring in here? Dan? Okay, so number 2. What day is Yom Kippur on? The 10th of Tishrei. And what day is the Feast of Booth that Sukkot celebrated on? The 15th day. It's that way, always. So if somebody says, well, Yom Kippur is coming a lot sooner after Rosh Hashanah than usual, person's delusional. Or people say Rosh Hashanah is early this year. No, it isn't. It's always on the 1st of Tishrei. I don't get it. The world is wrong. The Jewish people are right. So here's what it says. It says, on the 15th day of the 7th month, there will be this festival of booths in the Lord for 7 days. And the first day shall be a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupation. 7 days you shall bring offerings by the fire. And then on the 8th day you shall observe the sacred occasion and bring an offering by fire to the Lord. That's something called Shmini Atzeret. And it would take me 8 years to explain that to you, but just accept it. So then it goes on to say, on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the yield of your land, in other words, the fall harvest, you shall observe the festival of the Lord to last 7 days, complete rest on the 1st and a complete rest on the 8th, meaning they're holidays. And on the first day you shall take the product of the Hadar tree. This is it, Hadar. Then it says the branches of the palm, that's it. The bough of leafy trees, it's the myrtle. And then the willow of the brook, the willows. And you shall rejoice in the Lord your God for 7 days, you shake it. And you shall observe the festival of the Lord for 7 days, and you shall observe it in the 7th month as the laws of all time. In other words, not only is the Torah telling you to do it then, it's telling the Jewish people to do it for eternity. And then it says, you shall live in booths 7 days. All the citizens in Israel shall live in booths, the sukkah, in order that future generations may know that I made the Israel people live in the booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. In other words, one of the explanations is we have the sukkah because that's what the Israelites dwelt in the wilderness between Exodus and entrance in the Promised Land. But my Israeli 7-year-old granddaughter has a much better explanation than this. So you invite her here and she will give it to you. And she learned this in her Israeli secular school, which is interesting. So you got great detail and you have its great importance. And yet, here's the question. Was the tradition always followed? How do we know these traditions were followed? It says in the Torah it was followed. And here's the interesting point. In the year 586 BCE, the Israelites, the Hebrews were, the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed, and the Israelites went into exile in Babylonia, and they were there for 48 years. And one of the things we know is that when they were in Babylonia for 48 years, they did not observe Sukkot. They didn't observe it. For some reason, they didn't do it. But then what happens is, and I told you it's technical, but I think it's rather fascinating. And again, I thank my Leora, my daughter, who's about to be ordained as a rabbi in Israel, who pointed me to this text. And this is what it says. The Israelite people were returning to land, had returned to Israel, and there was this great scribe named Ezra who taught the Torah to the Jewish people. And this is how it's described. And listen, it's really remarkable. It says, on the second day were gathered together the heads of the fathers of the house of all the people, the priests, the Levites, unto Ezra the scribe, to give attention to the words of the law. In other words, he taught them the Torah. They hadn't studied it for 50 years, 48 years. And then it goes on to say, and they found written in the law how the Lord had commanded by Moses that the children of Israel would dwell in booths in the feast of their 7 months. And they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go forth unto the mount and fetch olive branches and branches of wild olives and myrtle branches and palm branches and branches of thick trees to make booths as it is written. So the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, every one upon their roof of their house and in the courts of their house of God, and in the broad place of the water gate. It's not important, but this is what I wanted to tell you, and it's technical, but it's really remarkable. And if you don't know, if I'm going to test you, those of you I'll see tomorrow, and if you don't know the answer, there's no bat mitzvah tomorrow. So you better listen. Okay. I didn't mean to threaten anybody, but that's it. It says, and all the congregation of them that were coming back out of captivity made booths and dwelt in the booths, for since the days of Yehoshua ben Nun to that day had not the children of Israel done so. In other words, this tradition was dead. Ezra comes back and tells them, you have to relearn this tradition. And because of his dynamism, that the people of Israel were excited about it, they chose to do it again. The community came together. A forgotten tradition was brought into reality. It seems as if they had never heard of it before, and Ezra had to teach it to them again. And what's remarkable is that in Jewish tradition, Sukkot is more important than Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But even in spite of that, they didn't know about it. Okay. Some things we forget. They discovered something in Judaism that they had lost. And I find this passage to be so relevant, and let me put it really blunt. Our Jewish memory is very fragile. It's really very fragile. In one generation, traditions can be lost, or at least weakened in every generation. And it's interesting. I grew up in a family that was kind of Jewish. My grandmother was much more Jewish. And my great-grandmother, she was really Jewish. Now, these are all relative terms based on my subjectivity, and I'm very subjective and unreasonable. But in every you've known me Nathan, you think I'm unreasonable? Don't mind you. Okay. I'm unreasonable? You're right, I am unreasonable. But here's the deal. In every generation, it gets a little bit confusing. And when you look at the Jewish population study of America, it's really fascinating. Because it says that 27% of American Jews do not believe in Judaism. They're Jews without religion. And there's 73% who say they're Jews by religion. But it gets really more interesting as you go up and you get younger and younger and younger. The list of Jews who have no religion gets higher and higher and higher. So, but when the 18 and 29-year-olds, and this study is 2 years old, 40% of Jews, young Jews from 18 to 29, say they are Jews by no religion, and 60% they are Jews with religion, as compared to if you're 65 and over. Jews of no religion is 16%, and Jews with a religion is 84%. So in every generation, the memory gets weaker. It's very, very, very fragile. It's part of being an American. we are a melting pot. It's hard to hold on to these traditions. I really can relate to Ezra talking to his community and saying, yeah, is the memory there? I mean, do you remember this? Now, I believe in freedom. Religion coercion is the worst thing in the whole world, and when we see it in our community, we see it in the United States, in the world, it's horrible. But the truth be told, we Jews are a people of memory. And what I believe is that the goal of Jewish life is to increase and intensify that memory. And that's a challenge. Now, I think we're in an Ezra moment where Ezra gets up and has to say, can I convince you to see the traditions in a way you've never seen it before? Now, where does this lead me to? And something happened today that kind of blew me away, and it had to do with Lucy. You know, Lucy is for those of you Lucy's our bat mitzvah for this weekend. We haven't had a bat mitzvah in a long time, so she's getting us going again. But something happened that kind of blew me away. It forced me to rethink what I was going to talk about this evening, in fact, which I don't usually do. Lucy was standing here, and we went over the Torah reading, and she says, am I doing that thing? I said, what do you mean, am I doing that thing? So she pulls out this sheet, and it was the Kiddush that she chanted a few minutes ago. I've been the rabbi, I'm going to cry, really. I've been the rabbi here for 12 years. And she's the first child that chanted the Kiddush from this pulpit on a Friday night. You know, normally when you train a child, Lucy, I'm not trying to embarrass you, but I have to share it because it's important to me. In the 12 years that I've been here, it hasn't happened. And I've told all the kids who are studying, all the bar mitzvah tutors, could you teach the kids the Friday night Kiddush? It's something they'll have for the rest of their lives. And usually the kids are struggling so much to get to the end of their Torah portion, they get nowhere. She pulls out this thing and chants the Haftarah, but chants the Kiddush like she's a pro, without any hesitation. And this is huge for the New Reformed Temple. For those of you who know the history of our temple, we come from a very liberal view of Judaism. The people who founded the temple were classical reformers. We used to have a choir and an organ, and we had all these things. And I know some people got really upset when we didn't have it anymore, but blamed Dan Fromm for that. It all happened in his presidency. It did. That's why he's a special man for me, because he's really a great person. He is. Look, we have a Hebrew program. If the founders of the New Reformed Temple knew we had a Hebrew program, they would shoot darts at me. I mean, now we have 12, 15 kids studying Hebrew every week in our congregation. That's huge. Now we have a student who gets up on a Friday night and recites Kiddush. To me, that's the rekindling of the Jewish memory. This is what I call an Ezra moment. And I'm not bragging because the New Reformed Temple, we're not so great. It's a good synagogue. We're no better than anybody. No, all these synagogues say, I'm the greatest synagogue. No, you're not. I'm so tired of that nonsense. We're all good synagogues. We all do a lot of things well. All of us do a lot of things not so well. Welcome to life. Let's move on. Oh, I got the greatest rabbi. I got the greatest this. Now, of course we have the greatest rabbi, but that's besides the point. No, but seriously, you have to stop bragging. But this is about the Jewish future. I mean, it's about, I don't know what the crystal ball is for the Jewish people. I don't know what the crystal ball is for our Kansas City Jews. I don't know anything. But I do know that we had a bat mitzvah who got up after 12 years of not having it and recited the Friday night Kiddush, and that means something. That's more important to me than what happens on the high holidays, or we have this wonderful new building. It's a hell of a lot more important than new building. It's about the rekindling of a memory. It's about intensification. It's about saying that Judaism is worth working at and worth increasing the flame. So that's what this is about. And I think it's a great night for the Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom.